The stuff that I think's really hurt people's feelings is like hearing some harsh truths. You know, obviously the thing I'm most known for is the King Von thing, right? And it's like, it's so bizarre to me that the amount of people that really went hard at me to be like, oh, you don't know that he killed those 7 people. You can't prove that. And I'm like, bro, Von said it. Like, Von said it. There's 2-3 songs where he says, I got 7 bodies. I got this, I got that.
Well, let's...
All the tweets. Like, it's like, bro,
that,
I found that is the truth.
With that right there, the King Von documentary that you dropped, that propelled your fucking channel and that really solidified your name. Not just on YouTube, but in hip hop in general. That got all fucking eyes on you. Now, I've said it to everybody. I feel like if there's some type of YouTube awards or whatever the fuck, you deserve one for that.
Man.
That documentary was fire. And I've always defended you for anybody that had anything negative to say about it, you know? But that right there, when you dropped that, obviously there was a overwhelming amount of work you had to put in to put that piece together. Learning everything that you did, putting it all together, running through it, what did you feel before you actually posted it, and how did you feel that people would react?
Man, yeah, it's crazy to look back at it. You know, I appreciate everything you just said, because it's like, for me, like I said a minute ago, like my dedication's to the truth. And that video, that wasn't some clout chasing shit. That was like, I'm a huge fan of Von. I've got a tattoo of King Von. Von is so relevant when it comes to drill music, gangster rap. Like, this is the poster child for this modern era of like violent drill. We catch bodies, like, for better or for worse. I felt like it was one of the most important stories in hip hop history in this era. Like, him and Youngboy and Dirk and Quando, that's like Tupac, Biggie going on right now in this era. Right. So I felt like I spent probably 3 months researching that, to the point where it was like, I needed to do this story justice. And it's funny now looking back that it was a huge success, because at the time, that was like 2 years after King Von had passed. Not to disrespect, but his name wasn't necessarily buzzing at that specific moment in hip hop. I was feeling like, I don't know if people are really going to even be interested in hearing about all this. But I felt like I had to speak to the truth of, like, I read all of his tweets. I listened to every song and read every lyric one by one and really thought about what was going on. I watched every interview, every IG live, anything that guy put out there publicly. I consumed it and analyzed it and thought about what it meant to the overall picture. And I put that all into one video. So for me, like, what I was really trying to achieve with that was just a comprehensive view of this guy that, you know, he like, Von's life and what Von was is like a metaphor for like the overall Chicago drill culture nowadays of like, we want to catch the most bodies, we want to brag about it, we want to tell everyone. He was tweeting about bodies after he was catching them. And that's just fact. And all the people that came at me, that a lot of people didn't even watch it and they just wanted to come at me maybe for some clout or just to hate. But like, it was undeniable. And I didn't set out. This is the funniest thing. I was like, I'm going to do a full King Von life story documentary. I think a lot of people think, oh, you tried to put this serial killer jacket on him from the start. The idea of calling it King Von's rap's first serial killer didn't come until I was probably halfway through. I was like, okay, I'm going to make a video where I'm going to once and for all say, truth or cap, did King Von have the 7 bodies he talked about? And I looked into it. And at a certain point, once I'd got to about 3 or 4 of them and I was reading all of his tweets, and I'm like, he tweeted after nearly every murder. I was like, damn, it's looking like 3, it's looking like 4. Shit, it's looking like 6. Yeah. And then I was like, is this guy a serial killer? I looked into the FBI's definition of a serial killer. I'm reading it. I'm like, bro, he's ticking these boxes.
Fucking adds up.
And like, that's when I had the idea of like, that's the focus of the video. That's the title of the video. But I didn't set out to do that. But it's like, when I laid it all out, it was just very apparent to me that that's what had gone on. And, you know, shit went how it went.
Well, I got a deep question for you. I think you were spot on with the serial killer title. You know, that's might have pissed people off. I don't see how, because that's everything he wanted to be.
Facts.
So let me ask you, if Von watched your documentary, knowing that he projected all of these things himself, do you feel like he would approve of everything you said of him?
That's a great question. So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. When Von was still alive and he was still doing a lot of numbers in like early 2020, probably like just after Took Her to the O came out, I can't take the credit. First person to do a good King Von video was Trap Geek. He did a video on King Von called The Soft Spoken Assassin. This was back when the YouTube gang documentaries would be like 10, 15 minute video. That would be good, right? And so he did that, and I ended up doing a couple of King Von videos like maybe a few months later, just on some shit of like, I learned more about him. I was fascinated in him. when I did those videos about him, I ended up having a back and forth with his team. Those videos ended up getting taken down. They were trying to strike my channel, right? So that's like an old throwback story of me and Von. But at the time, when the Trap Geek video first came out, he posted some shit on his Instagram of him in a fresh fit with the caption, "The Soft-Spoken Assassin." So you could tell he was liking that shit. So I think he would have loved it. And like when later on, a little bit more time had passed, I remember he put out some tweet before he died that was like, "Don't listen to what these white boys on YouTube are saying, like, I'm a nice guy," or something. And it was kind of that thing of like, he was having fun with it, but the fact that he took the soft-spoken assassin thing that Trap Geek came up with and used it as his own caption, like trolling, I think he liked it. I think if Von was still alive, he'd probably have a couple of these bodies on him. He'd have probably got wrapped up in the duck thing, and he'd probably be in jail like one of these famous serial killers, doing interviews and shining and being an infamous gang serial killer, to be honest. So I think you would have liked that shit. And the thing that I always love to say to people, right, when people come to me and they say, "Oh, that's capping, you're putting bodies on, you're putting serial killer jacket on Von, it ain't like that, you're misrepresenting him." I'm like, bro, if Von was here in this room and you told him he wasn't a killer, he'd slap you.
That's a fact. And that's the same shit I be telling people. I feel like, you know, wherever he's at, heaven, hell, or whatever people believe in, if he sat down and watched that, I just feel like he'd have that evil ass smile.
He'd be like, I don't say I did that shit.
He'd just be like,
stood on that.
Because that's who he was, that's who he wanted to be, and he left that behind. And I feel like that's also people's fascination with him.
Well, he was that till the end as well, right? You know, it's unfortunate, right? But the way he went out trying to apply pressure to someone, unfortunately, it went wrong, right?
That's a perfect thing to bring up. As gangster as he was, because nobody can take that away from him, how disappointing was the way he died?
You know what? Like, I mean, we had a conversation the other night about religion, and, you know, I was kind of saying, look, I definitely believe things happen for a reason, and there's higher powers that we can understand. And I think there's some mad, no disrespect, but like some mad, messed up poetic justice in the fact that Von went out on camera in a crazy way, the same way that he had made fun of so many people before him, the way that SBG Duck got lined up and shot in public on camera, the way that other people in Chicago that he had made fun of, filming the bus stop after Lil Mark got killed. Like, the way Von went out, ironically, was nothing to do with that Chicago shit, but it went down in some Chicago type fashion, on camera, just a brutal shooting. But, you know, it's the same thing I said to Vlad, is like, unfortunately, Von underestimated those guys, you know, thinking, yeah, Quando's just a rapper from Savannah or whatever. But, you know, as I broke down in the video I did about Quando's crew, they get busy in Savannah. Those rolling 60s in Savannah, they're not a joke. And he underestimated, you know, that crew and Quando and Tim that night. And unfortunately, as Quando said in a lyric a couple of years later, like, you know, these guys from Chicago, they think they're the only killers in America, but Savannah's got killers, you know? And it's mad ironic and like mystical the way that Von went out. And you know, you got that guy Slutty and Louis, they try and shoot Tim and they can't. Like, a lot of people have said about that footage, I see a lot of comments on Reddit under that footage of like, this is proof there's a God. God wanted King Von. That was the end of the line for King Von that night. And Lil Tim, this is super trolling, but it's like Charleston White, I think there's a post where he's calling Lil Tim the Demon Slayer and saying that, you know, the hand of God was controlling Tim that night. Now that's pretty out there, but it's like, the way that all went down was like some stranger than fiction, mystical, higher power type stuff. And it's unfortunate, but that's how it was meant to go. It went how you know, the universe wanted it to go, and unfortunately everything that's unfolded afterwards has been a consequence and a chain reaction of what happened that day. But like I said before, that Von situation, that's like the Tupac murder for this generation of music, you know? And it's like, it's stuff that people are going to be debating and talking about for 20 years.